Well, it was bound to happen eventually, and it looks like it just did. The Houthis launched a missile that struck a ship carrying humanitarian aid for the people of Yemen. Additionally, they fired a multitude of drones and missiles against additional commercial and military vessels in the region, so we'll be sure to get into that. Israel says that they uncovered a weapons storage facility connected to a United Nations school in Khan Yunis. The IDF's top lawyer issued a warning to commanders against illegal acts being carried out by Israeli troops in the Gaza Strip, saying that the strategic damage that this is causing Israel is difficult to overstate. And then, in no surprise to anybody, the United States, for the third time, vetoed a ceasefire resolution at the United Nations Security Council. This one's a little confusing. I'll break down what we know, but it's not entirely clear why this went the way it did. It's a lot to get into, so I'm glad you're here. I'm recording this at 9:30 a.m. Central on Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. So it was a busy day between U.S. Central Command, busy couple days, between U.S. Central Command and the Yemen-based Houthis. Starting on February 19th, Central Command said that the Houthis fired 2 anti-ship ballistic missiles at the MVC Champion, a Greek-flagged U.S.-owned bulk carrier bound for the port of Aden in Yemen. One of those missiles detonated near the ship, causing minor damage. Either way, the crew continued voyage to Yemen to deliver humanitarian aid, grain for the people of Yemen. They say that the MVC Champion has delivered humanitarian aid to Yemen 11 times in the past 5 years. This is a regular trip that they take. And this time, the Houthis reached out and attacked them with a couple ballistic missiles. It was just a matter of time before they started inflicting damage on ships that are trying to alleviate some of the starvation, some of the human catastrophe that is taking place in Yemen, and it looks like that's what happened overnight. Additionally, on February 19th, the surface-to-air missile launcher was identified by U.S. Central Command in Yemen, in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen, and was struck and destroyed. Central Command also says that a anti-ship ballistic missile was launched at 6:40 p.m. local time on the 19th, but did not impact any commercial or military vessels in the Red Sea. About an hour later, a one-way attack drone struck the MV Navis Fortuna, a Marshall Islands-flagged U.S.-owned bulk carrier. They said that caused minor damage, but no injuries. That ship continued its voyage towards Italy. Then, about an hour after that, Central Command identified and destroyed a one-way attack drone in western Yemen that was prepared to launch at ships in the Red Sea. All of that was on February 19th. Then moved to February 20th. U.S. and coalition aircraft and warships in the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea shot down 10 Houthi drones that had been launched at commercial and military vessels in the region. And then a few hours later, the USS Laboon identified an anti-ship cruise missile that was being launched in its direction, which the USS Laboon subsequently shot down. So this is a pretty significant uptick in Houthi attacks, the most in a 24 to 48 hour period that we've seen since before the first wave of US and UK strikes against Houthi targets in Yemen. So we've been saying it for a while on this channel, but I think it's safe to say once more that those waves of attacks carried out by the US, UK, and our other allies are not doing the trick in terms of effectively deterring the Houthis from carrying out further attacks. Then turning to operations on the ground in Gaza, we've got a video here released by the IDF. They say they found a cache of weapons in a building adjacent to a United Nations school in Khan Yunis, the southern portion of the Gaza Strip. According to the IDF, they say that Hamas, and they found a hole here in the wall separating these two buildings. They say that Hamas apparently would hide in the UN school, knowing that they weren't going to be targeted there, and shelter kind of amongst the Palestinian civilians. And then when Israeli troops were approaching, they would sneak out into the building through this hole, grab weapons, carry out attacks on Israeli troops, ditch the weapons in that building, and then move back into the school. Israel says they also raided the home of a senior Hamas commander in Khan Yunis, the head of the Khan Yunis Brigade's anti-tank unit, where they say they seized weapons and intelligence materials. Worth noting that every one of these raids into a Hamas headquarters or a Hamas leader's home is acquiring intelligence to a degree. You never know how much they're going to get in each one of these raids, but over time you're able to gather little tidbits from one place and another, piece it together, and that will help facilitate the targeting of future operations throughout Khan Yunis and likely further south into Rafah. Additionally, Israel says that during one operation just yesterday, they were able to detain 60 operatives who hid in a school alongside Palestinian civilians. Then the top lawyer for the Israeli Defense Forces spoke out yesterday, issuing a warning to commanders against illegal acts carried out by troops in the Gaza Strip. She said, quote, "We have encountered unacceptable cases of conduct that deviate from IDF values and protocols." She says they include inappropriate statements which encourage unacceptable phenomena, unjustified use of force, including against detainees, looting, which include the use of removal of private property for non-operational purposes, and destruction of civilian property contrary to protocols. She said some incidents go beyond the disciplinary domain and cross the criminal threshold. That's important. She says these acts and statements on the part of individuals who do not represent the whole are contrary to the IDF being a professional, moral, and dignified army. They have no place in the IDF. She says that these, quote, "cause the state of Israel and the IDF strategic damage in the international arena, the seriousness of which is difficult to overstate." And she added that certain instances are being investigated by relevant authorities, and some will move forward to the Advocate General's office to determine if criminal or disciplinary measures need to be taken. So this is a good thing across the board for everyone involved. This is what you want to see from a modern military, is that they can self-police, that they can identify the bad apples, the bad actors within their organization, and hold them accountable for, violations of their protocol or criminal violations, which they're alleging here. The big challenge, obviously, is going to be it's a lot easier to say that than it is to carry this out, and we're going to want to see results, right? It's not enough to just say, this has happened, we're going to do something about it. A lot of people now are going to be standing by to see, what are you doing about it? Let's see some actual action. But she's spot on when she says that the seriousness of this is difficult to overstate and the damage that this is causing to the IDF in the international arena. How many videos have you seen of Israeli soldiers doing things that paint the IDF in a bad light? And those go across the internet as fast as could be, faster than a lot of official media ever does. So I think it's a good move by the IDF to try to crack down on this and make sure that anything, of course, that's illegal, immoral is being disciplined appropriately. Again, we'll have to wait and see how this actually shakes out in practice. Then turning to the United Nations Security Council, where to nobody's surprise, the United States for the third time vetoed a Gaza ceasefire resolution. So the vote in the 15-member Security Council was 13 in favor, 1 against, with the United Kingdom abstaining, and of course the United States vetoed that measure. The United States said that the veto was due to the fact that this would interfere with ongoing negotiations on a deal to free the hostages. Look, in the past, this is the third time the United States has vetoed a Gaza ceasefire resolution. In the past, it's been more clear as to why the United States took that step. Even if you disagree, they were more transparent in why they did not like the proposed text. This time, at least I have a hard time understanding why the veto was put in place. So bear with me here. The text of this ceasefire agreement that was put forward by, or ceasefire proposal, I should say, put forward by Algeria would have demanded the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, as well as reiterated its call for unhindered humanitarian access. So this proposal, Algeria's proposal, did call for the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. The response here from the United States, the U.S. Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield said that the U.S. is proposing a separate resolution, a draft resolution that we talked about in yesterday's video, which she said would do what this text does not. It would pressure Hamas to take the hostage deal that is on the table and help secure a pause that allows humanitarian assistance to reach Palestinian civilians in desperate need. And then the UK statement here was that the way to stop the fighting and potentially stop it from restarting is to begin with a pause to get hostages out and aid in. Again, it's not clear to me how either one of those are different from the Algeria proposal that was put forward. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but it seems like all parties are really focused on the hostage piece, trying to get the hostages home. There might be some other aspect of the ongoing negotiations that the United States and Israel don't want scuttled, that's not being presented in the U.S. or in the UN resolution here. But either way, compared to previous vetoes, this one is a little harder to figure out exactly why the United States wanted nothing to do with the Algeria proposal. But that's all I've got for now. Of course, if interested in this or other national security subjects, be sure to check out our Substack, linked in the description below. We just brought some experts, researchers, analysts on board to start putting out additional written content for free that's adjacent to the topics I'm talking about in these videos. The one that just came out today actually is about kind of the weapons revolution in the Myanmar civil war. These guys went from flintlock rifles to 3D printed guns and homemade rocket launchers. It's wild. And thinking about what that means for the future of unconventional and conventional war around the world. Again, free, linked in the description below. But thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.